Good day everyone, this is Wendelin P. Recommendation from BSS Social Studies. So for today's video I will be discussing the advantages and disadvantages of waste disposal. So what is waste disposal? Waste disposal, the collection, processes, and recycling of decomposition of the waste materials of human society. Waste is classified by sources on composition. Broadly speaking, waste materials are either liquid or solid in form, and there is components may be either hazardous or inert in their effects on health and the environment. So let's tackle first what is the advantages and disadvantages of landfills. Landfills are either open dumps nor just some hole in the ground. A basic landfill only involves the covering of solid waste with a soil. This is important to reduce the amount of landfill gases, methane, and carbon dioxide mixing up with the air, which can be harmful to the earth and the living beings. So the advantages of landfills. Landfills are an excellent energy source. Number 1, when trash accumulates and begins to break down carbon dioxide and methane, they produces these gases can be taken out, filtered out, and used for energy production. So second advantages is modern landfills are eco-friendly. Thanks to the effort of environmental experts and the conservationists who brought in a strict law regulations and the standard for landfill sites. So the third advantages is keep sites down and district clean. So number 4, keep hazardous waste segregated. So those are the advantages of landfills. Landfills provide a place to dump recyclable and non-recyclable waste separately. Disadvantages of landfills is burying waste in the ground. But what are the disadvantages associated with landfills? Let's check. Number 1, landfills are partially responsible for climate change. Number 2, methane lights up easily. Number 3, contaminates soil and water. Number 4, landfills affects wildlife. Why? It's because landfills sites have negative effects on plants and animals. Certain birds and other animals feed on landfills sites. By doing so, they can ingest plastics or another toxic materials. Those are the advantages and disadvantages of landfills. So the next waste disposal is the incineration. Incineration plays a vital role in making waste management easier and more efficient. Waste incineration's advantages and disadvantages are: number 1, far more efficient. Number 1, far more efficient use for space. Number 2, elimination of groundwater contamination. Number 3, energy generation. Number 4, lower carbon footprint. And the disadvantages of the waste while incineration has its advantages, it is not a perfect solution. The disadvantages of solid waste incineration include high expense, continued emission of a toxic or otherwise hazardous pollutants, opportunity cost. So that's all the advantages and disadvantages of waste incineration. Now let's talk about the waste compaction. What are the advantages and disadvantages of waste compaction? Waste compaction, garbage compaction allows a large amount of a trash to collect in a single area without the need to increase garbage collection. The disadvantages of waste compaction are less regulation, disposal of a waste, Number 3, large amount of garbage. Number 4, personal garbages compactors. So those are the disadvantages of waste compaction. The advantages are saving space and recycling. So next is biomass generation. Biomass generation, many people are setting up biomass plants for food waste treatment due to the rising awareness of the environmental crisis. Here are the advantages and disadvantages of biomass. First, biomass is environmentally friendly. Second, biomass reduces soil and water pollution. Third, biomass produces organic manure. Fourth, biomass generation is clean and economic. While the disadvantages of biomass are lack of technology development, traces of impurities, effect of temperature. So let's go to composting. What are the advantages and disadvantages of composting? Composting is an aerobic method of decomposing organic solid waste. The advantages are: first, fewer garbage pick-ups necessarily. Number 2, fully organic fertilizer. Number 3, solid structure improvements. Number 4, higher yields. So the disadvantages of composting are: composting needs space, odor noises, varying quality of compost, and number 4, unpleasant physical appearance. And lastly, the advantages of vermicomposting. The advantages of vermicomposting helps improve soil structure, texture, porosity, water holding capacity, drainage and irrigation, and reduce erosion. The disadvantages of vermicomposting are: it takes time. It can take as long as 6 months for noticeable odor, high maintenance, PC and pathogen problems. So those are the disadvantages and disadvantages of vermicomposting, incineration, biomass, landfills, waste compaction. So and now let's go to the solid waste management, sources of solid waste. Here are the examples of affecting poor solid waste management. First, solid domestic garbages. What are the solid domestic garbages? Uncollected domestic waste is causing a polluting to the environment and endangered of the life of people at large. Solid domestic garbages example such as paper, cardboard, or similar any materials can cause water contaminated due to improper disposal of solid waste that can cause diseases like diarrhea, dysentery, typhoid, cholera, and many more. So number 2 is the waste material from various industries. Industrial waste contamination can occur whether toxic byproduct find their way into the environment without proper processing and disposing. So examples are the use of agricultural chemical and organic chemical. So number two is waste material from various industries. What are the examples of this? Industrial waste contamination can occur whether toxic byproducts find their way into the environment without proper processing and disposing. So for example, the use of agricultural chemical and inorganic chemical. Second, electric power generation. Third, iron and steel manufacturing. So the third one is the solid agricultural waste. What are the examples of solid agricultural waste? Agricultural solid waste are indiscriminately dumped or burned in a public places, thereby resulting in the generation of pollution, soil contamination, and harmful gases such as smokes and dust and the residue. Examples are, it includes manure and other waste from farms, poultry houses and slaughterhouses, harvest waste, fertilizer, runoff from fields, pesticides that enter into the water, air, and soil. So number 4 is plastic, glass, metals, and e-waste. What are the example of this? As mentioned, plastic, gas, metals, and electronic waste contains toxic components that are dangerous to human health, such as mercury, polychlorinated flame retardant, barium, and lithium. These negative health effects of these toxins of humans including to our brain, heart, liver, kidney, and skeletal system damages. So the next is the medical waste. What are the examples of medical waste? Medical waste includes paper towels or wipes contaminates, gloves used in procedures, strings with needles or sharp object, any other material from medical care. So that's are the example of medical waste. So the last is construction waste, sewage sludge. Sewage sludge is a mud-like residue resulting from water waste treatment. So the examples are the sewage sludge contains heavy metals and pathogens such as viruses and bacteria. This is so very harmful to human health that it's caused many viruses and bacteria. So that's are the construction waste, sewage sludge, and the examples. That's all.